Today's hearing isn't just another day in court. It's a resentencing after the Court of Appeals called out an error. The defense says Randall Newman has changed. The victims say the pain never ends. Will the judge see growth or danger? Stay tuned. This case is about to test mercy versus justice.
And we're here this morning for a resentencing in People of the State of Michigan versus Randall Newman II. It's file 2020-5914FC. Counsel, you want to state your appearance, beginning with People?
Melissa Goodrich, Blaine County Prosecutor.
Good morning, Judge Kira Scott, State Appellate Defender Office. I'm joined by Mr. Newman to my right and co-counsel Garrett Berg.
All right, so this was remanded from the Court of Appeals, direct appeal by right, confirming the convictions, but remanding for resentencing because it found that I erred by imposing consecutive sentencing. Ms. Scott, any allocution defense wishes to make in behalf of Mr. Newman?
I'm actually going to go ahead and make it.
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
So as you know, my office and I prepared a very thorough sentencing memorandum for you to review, and I don't want to belabor that memorandum. First, I imagine when you sentenced Mr. Newman the first time, you took his behavior in your courtroom into consideration, both the behavior that preceded trial and his behavior during trial. And we recognize that that behavior was to some degree unbecoming. Mr. Newman's actions stemmed in part from his frustration with his trial attorneys. You've already made that finding earlier in this proceeding that they were ineffective. And we recognize that their ineffectiveness did not make an impact on the outcome of his proceeding in your estimation. But Mr. Newman couldn't have known that at the time. All he understood was that his attorneys were coming up short. And I think anyone in his position would have felt frustrated. And unfortunately, he let that frustration get the best of him. Since his trial, he's had several opportunities to appear in front of him. And during each of those opportunities, he has conducted himself the way that I think that he should. He's followed the rules, he's kept quiet, he has done everything that is expected. I think his behavior in these several subsequent proceedings is evidence of some of the growth that he's experienced while he's been in the Department of Corrections. He has acted, I think, completely differently, and I think for the better. Mr. Newman's progress in the MDOC sort of further underscores the progress that he's made generally. He's gotten just one ticket in the last year, and he's earned his GED and several certificates. He's even learning sign language. He is, I think, making real strides. That's especially true with regard to his mental health. He has started taking his medication regularly, and I think he's recognized that that's something necessary for him to get back on track. One thing that I do want to talk about from the sentencing memorandum is something that Mr. Newman said. A mitigation specialist at my office quoted Mr. Newman in context of him talking about his mental health. She said, "Randall said he understands that managing his mental health is a matter of having the right medication and having the right support system in place to be able to deal with it. For Randall, that means having a counselor he can talk to, a small group of family and friends, and whenever possible, a walk in the woods. Randall is currently seeing a counselor every 3 months as permitted, but he'd prefer to have more frequent sessions. And he also attends group sessions organized by the National Library of America." So I think what that says to me is that Mr. Newman is really trying his best.
The defense is leaning hard on rehabilitation, GED, therapy, even sign language. But does personal progress outweigh the damage already done? That's the question. Should a judge focus on who he is now or what he's done then? What would you decide if you were on the bench?
To make the most of his time in the Department of Corrections so that when he is released, at whatever point, he is able to successfully reintegrate into our community. That is especially impressive because of his tumultuous upbringing. He has suffered an immeasurable amount of loss from his relationship with his mother and his father and his younger siblings to the death of his child several years ago. All of this, I think, would leave someone scarred and broken and really disinterested in carrying on. But Mr. Newman hasn't let that happen. And for that reason, we're asking for you to impose the mandatory minimum sentence.
All right, thank you, Mr. Berg. Mr. Newman, it is not required that you would make a statement today. If you choose not to do so, I don't hold that against you in any way. However, you are allowed to make any statement you wish today. Is there any statement you wish to make, sir?
I'll let my attorney read the statement.
Okay, that's fine.
I would like to start off by offering an apology to the court. When I was going through the trial process, my behavior was out of line. I sincerely apologize. I apologize to my attorneys and to you, Your Honor, for my lack of respect for the law and the courtroom. I was so frustrated and angry about being in that situation. You all were only doing your jobs as public servants, and I had no right to disrespect any of you. I know my behavior was wrong. My defensiveness is a character defect that I've been working on in prison. But also like to say that I'm deeply sorry about the things that have happened to my daughter. Very sad about everything that has happened. If I could go back in time to change the past and protect her better, I would do it. Being in prison has given me an opportunity to reflect on mistakes I've made in the past. Even though I don't qualify for many classes through MDOC, I've been working on getting a handle on my emotions through a correspondence course on anger management. I had many times in my past when I believed I could handle my bipolar disorder without taking medication. Now I understand that this is never a good idea. In the future, I promise to always use the tools I know I need to be a healthy person. For me, that means taking my medication and having support people to talk to. Either a counselor.
Hang on, can you pause for a second? I think there's something that DOC needs to address with Mr. Newman. We all set? Okay, if you need to interrupt for any security related reason, that's no problem. Okay, go ahead, continue, Ms. Conley.
Either a counselor, a friend, or a family member. I've also learned that what's best for me is to live a quiet life and to spend as much time as I can outside in nature. I promise you that I will not be breaking the law anymore. Your Honor, I have in the past been a productive member of society, and I can be that person again if given the opportunity. I ask for your mercy and your understanding in my case. I hope you can find it in your heart to give me an opportunity to go home, get the help I need, and get my life on track. In closing, Your Honor, I am sorry. Please accept my apology as you consider my sentence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Ms. Goodrich,
Your Honor, we have a representative of the victim that would like to speak.
is this the adoptive mother again?
Yes.
Okay, you're certainly welcome to make any statement you wish today. I do want to let you know that I did review the statement at the original sentencing and would take judicial notice of that statement, which I thought was very graceful and very powerful. If it's difficult for you today to make a statement, you want to rely on that, that would be fine. If you want to make a statement today, you're more than welcome to do so. Okay, go ahead and come on forward.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I have to go off script because in light of his own statement and that of his lawyer, shallow apologies and putting a timeline on the amount of time that he has to pay for what he's done when my children, because multiple victims, only one is listed, but multiple victims have no timeline on their therapy, on PTSD and what that does to children that was inflicted on them. To hear him say that my childhood and the pain from my parents or losing a child, I've had loss in my life and I didn't go off on crime sprees, or to apologize and blame, frustration for the way you act in a courtroom. Imagine what other people in the courtroom are feeling. And I sat there and listened as his incompetent lawyer made excuse after excuse. He looked at me, he winked at me, he smiled at my husband. There's zero excuse for that. But now back on script. I am a Christian and I do believe in grace and forgiveness. But today I'm not asking once again for grace or forgiveness or mercy, I should say, for you to show mercy or this court to show mercy to a man who destroyed children. Mercy is between a sinner and God, and Your Honor, your job is not to show mercy. Your job is very different because it is to provide justice. That's what you were elected for, and it is to protect children. Randall Newman shouldn't even have the right to sit here today and ask for resentencing. Yet I'm glad, frankly, that we live in America and we have rules in court of order and court of appeals because sometimes it's needed. And yet here we are again, though, another moment where he twists the law for his own selfish purposes with no regard for the people his actions affect most, which are innocent children. Winning an appeal on a technicality doesn't make what he did any less monstrous. It only wastes taxpayer dollars, which, now we're paying for his GED and his other learning sign language, drains the time of this court, and frankly forces us to relive pain. It causes anxiety and trauma all over again, and it only further confirms that his punishment is appropriate to his crimes. When my daughter, who was named as the official victim, and her 3 younger siblings came to our home, they were wounded and broken. They had already been shuffled through foster placement, separated into 2 different homes, and stripped of the stability that siblings should never lose in the first place. They carried fear, confusion, and griefs from lives torn apart. We were told to pick new names for them the day they arrived, both because the threats Randall and Jessica posed and because their therapist felt that it would be helpful for the oldest to start fresh. Stripping all identity away is not a way for a family to start. That is the aftermath of complete destruction. In our home, for the first time, they were reunited, held in safe space, and allowed to just be children again. Because of Randall, my children were robbed of childhoods. Every day in those early years were structured around healing, trauma therapy, play therapy, bonding therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, special education supports. All of this became our life, and frankly, today still is. For years, our calendar was filled with appointments, long drives, and the hard work of recovery. We missed vacations, family gatherings, and everyday moments, all sacrificed so the children could begin to heal. It isn't over. My oldest, now 12, still wakes from nightmares. I have 2 children that still wet their beds at 8 and 7 years old. She has to go to bonding therapy still, and once a month, because her therapist thought it was advisable, she goes to therapy just to learn to be in society, to make friends. The other children who never saw their date in court still carry scars, one with learning challenges from prenatal substance exposure. These aren't things that I'm making up. They're documented by court, they're documented in Child Protective Services and with doctors. Another with multiple diagnoses requiring ongoing intervention. The damage is real and the damage is lifelong. 2 of his victims have a clinical diagnosis of PTSD, and that will not end in 20 years if you choose to release him. He has shown no remorse. His letter today, everyone can hear it for what it is. He lied in court about the ages of his children that he was supposed to protect. His lawyer produced no defense witnesses because there was no defense for his action. He manipulated legal processes to stall the children's permanency. What should have taken 6 months for an adoption took 3.5 years. He did not do it out of love or preserve a family. He did it to keep control of children that he saw as possessions. Every delay and every appeal and every twisted tactic served only to his selfishness and never for that of the children. Today, those children share my name. They are safe and they are surrounded by love and stability in a community that cherishes them. Their legal documents reflect that fact, and I want him to hear that. His name is no longer on their birth certificate because their birth certificate has my husband's name as their father and my own name as their mother. Even the government has replaced the records that once bound them to him.
This resentencing came down to a legal error. But emotionally, it's so much deeper. The court must balance law, justice, and human cost. No easy answers here. If this case had you hooked, hit like, drop your thoughts below, and subscribe for more powerful courtroom breakdowns.